Our next guest on Futbol Americas is Ryan O'Hanlon. He writes for ESPN.com, and he's got a heck of a headline over on the website right now. Ryan, I'm going to read it to you because I don't know if it was your work or maybe the editor's. Messi is scoreless at Copa America. Has Major League Soccer made him worse? All right, before we get to the conclusion, I know you're a big analytics guy, so tell me about the data you used in researching this point.
There's no analytics. You read it in the headline. No goals. He's terrible. No. So clarification, I don't tend to write my own headlines. But I looked at essentially, first I kind of sketched out how Messi's game has changed over his career. I think people can forget that he used to be this insane dribbling athletic freak that scored a crazy amount of goals, and that's changed over time. So I sketched that out. And then I wanted to just compare basically the little nuts and bolts of how he played at the last World Cup, kind of where he was getting the ball, what he was doing with the ball when he got it, with what we've seen in the Copa America. Obviously, it's not a one-to-one thing. Competition hasn't quite been as good, only 2 games, but that's the general approach that I took, plus a little bit of the old eye test.
You mentioned it, right? We're 2 games in, no goals. He does have the 1 assist from the opener. But what are the data numbers telling us? The analytics numbers, kind of those numbers that we don't know about, the common viewer. What are they saying about Messi's performance?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting. You really need numbers to understand this. But if you look at Messi's performances with Argentina, basically the less he touches the ball, the better they do. And that's not because Messi is not incredible. You want him touching the ball as much as he can. But Argentina's worst moments with Messi in the team are when he essentially has to drop all the way to the back line, be the one that progresses the ball up the field, and then also be the one that creates the shot, and then also the one that scores the goal. Recently, he's been able to sort of hang higher up and sort of put sort of the wide majority of his touches in the attacking third, and he can do his damage there. He's, not able to sort of take as many touches as he used to and be as effective. So in that regard, it's basically looks very similar to the last World Cup. He's sort of taking roughly the same amount of touches, roughly around the penalty area, taking the same amount of shots. And he hasn't scored, but his shots per game, his expected goals per game are pretty much the exact same that they were at the last World Cup. We know Messi, in terms of expected goals at least, is arguably the greatest finisher in terms of exceeding his expected goals ever. So I wouldn't expect that to continue. And then you noted he has 1 assist. He's at currently 1.6 expected assists per game. So I think in another pretty not distant parallel universe, Messi has something like 3 or 4 assists through the first 2 games.
Ryan, when we watch him in Major League Soccer, he's the best player on the field. And even now when we watch him at Copa America, he's the best player on the field. But how do the numbers, the real statistics of how he does in MLS compare to what he's doing now at the international level? Is he as effective with Argentina as he is for Inter Miami?
Yeah, so if you take the super small sample of these 2 games, which can be skewed by a bunch of sort of one-off events, we've obviously seen Argentina seemingly have an infinite number of breakaways each game, and that creates a super high expected goal, expected assist value. So based on that, if we just look at the expected goals and expected assists of these 2 games, this is the best tournament of Messi's life, but it's because it's only been 2 games. I think in MLS, I think the interesting thing to contextualize Messi, right, is his goals and assists per 90 minutes is higher than any season in his entire career. And this is a guy who's scored upwards of 50 goals in a domestic season, had, 20 assists, 15 assists, whatever. So I think the broad strokes of this are that, yes, he only has 1 assist through 2 games, but he's getting roughly the same number and quality of shots that he usually gets. And he's created a truly absurd number of quality chances for his teammates thus far. So I think it shouldn't surprise anyone if we start to see the goals and assist numbers rise up to the level that we're used to with Messi.
Ryan, one bit of data that we like to use on this show, because it's very visual, it makes a lot of sense, is the heat map. And one thing that comes a lot when talking about Messi is, how much is this guy actually moving? How much is he actually running? He walks a lot, whether you like it or you don't like it. What are you seeing from his movement right now with Argentina?
I mean, I think he does walk a lot, but I think he walks a lot because he probably has a better understanding of space than anyone that's ever played the sport. He walks when he's in high value spaces, and I think with Argentina this version, with the two center backs they have, who are both fantastic at moving the ball off the field, three sort of very competent ball progressing midfielders. Messi kind of just tries to get on the ball in that little underneath. Between the midfield and the back line, and then he can turn and ultimately play a through ball, play a ball out wide that leads to a huge chance for Argentina. He's nowhere near as physically active as he used to be, though. Like I said earlier, Messi used to just be taking on people left and right. He still does dribble past people, but it's much more like a little shoulder fake and a turn to the left rather than these staccato full speed dribbles at a defender when he had the longer hair that we're used to seeing. So there's that. And then defensively, it's honestly pretty funny at this point. No tackles, no interceptions through the first two games, which he hasn't been a real active defender for a while, but we're currently at basically zero defensive activity level through two games.
That's all right. Not what we come to expect from Lionel Messi. Really quickly, I've got to get your answer, your conclusion to the headline. Has Major League Soccer made Messi worse? Ryan, what do you say?
No, I think he's just a little rusty. I think we've seen a couple moments where he takes a bad touch, doesn't turn out of pressure in a way that we're used to, which I think is natural, right? This is the first time him going from club to international soccer is probably a pretty big step up in competitiveness, while going from playing in the Champions League to playing in the Copa America would usually be a step down. So given that, and then the underlying numbers that suggest, more goals and assists are to come, I think we should expect Messi to perform at quite a high level over the next couple weeks.
All right, there he is, Ryan O'Hanlon. You can read his work over at ESPN.com. Ryan, as always, great to have you with us here on Futbol Americas.